After the Grammys, after Kendrick's Super Bowl, after the lawsuit quietly disappeared, everyone made the same assumption. Drake's moment had passed. They were looking at the wrong story. Drake built something that doesn't require him to win. It runs on its own. And understanding what that actually is changes how you see this entire situation. Most people watched the beef. Nobody noticed what was happening underneath it. Let's start with the surface, because the surface matters. Drake is one of the most commercially dominant artists in recorded music history. Across Billboard, Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube, his numbers are documented and consistent. He holds the record for the most entries on the Billboard Hot 100 of any artist ever. His catalog spans genres like hip-hop, R&B, Afrobeats, UK rap, dancehall, and even pop, in a way that doesn't have a clean precedent. He's been commercially relevant for over 15 years in an industry where 3-year cycles are considered long. Most people look at that and think, okay, he's successful. And then they stop. But that framing misses what's actually happening. Because commercial success and structural dominance are two completely different things. And once you start looking at Drake's position through the lens of the second one, the picture changes entirely. Here's the thing about Drake's presence in music. It's not that he releases a lot of music, though he does. It's not that he collaborates constantly, though he does that too. It's the design of it. Think about the feature strategy specifically. Over the last decade, Drake has appeared on records across virtually every lane of popular music, and the appearances aren't random. They tend to cluster around artists who are either about to break through or are sitting at a cultural tipping point. He gets on a record, his audience absorbs it, and that artist's momentum accelerates. From a career architecture standpoint, what that means is this. Drake's name becomes associated with what's rising, consistently, which means his name stays synonymous with what's current, regardless of whether his own solo output is dominating the chart at that specific moment. That's not a coincidence. That's a system. Then there's the playlist dimension. Algorithmic playlisting is the most significant structural change to music consumption in the last 10 years. What gets playlisted determines what gets heard determines what gets streamed, and streaming numbers determine everything from label priority to live show booking. Drake's team has been more sophisticated about editorial and algorithmic playlist positioning than almost any other artist in the business. His records don't just chart, they embed themselves into the listening infrastructure. He's not just everywhere. He's been engineered to be unavoidable. This is the part that most commentary gets wrong. The standard narrative is that Drake is a chameleon, that he adapts to whatever sound is winning, and that framing makes it sound reactive, like he's chasing. He's not chasing. He's absorbing. There's a difference. Chasing means you hear what's already winning and you try to replicate it. Absorbing means you identify what's about to win, you build a relationship with the artists who are making it, and you integrate that sound into your own output early enough that when it breaks through to mainstream audiences, your version of it is already in their ears. He did this with Afrobeats. Before African artists had significant mainstream American chart presence, Drake was building real relationships in that space, working with artists like Wizkid, incorporating Afro-influenced production, and eventually appearing on records that became entry points for Western audiences into that sound. By the time Afrobeats became one of the dominant forces in global pop music, Drake wasn't catching up to it. He was already inside it. He did the same thing with UK drill. While it was still underground, he was building ties to that scene through his Toronto connections and the Caribbean diaspora pipeline that runs between London and the Six. By the time UK sounds crossed over into the mainstream conversation, he wasn't a visitor. He was already fluent. Ram Riddles is a Toronto artist operating in a very specific lane, the Sweeter Man wave, a sound that was deeply local, deeply niche, and hadn't crossed over anywhere near the mainstream. Drake didn't wait for it to cross over. He got on it while it was still underground, and the moment he did, that sound had a different ceiling. That's not a cosign. That's an artist identifying what's about to travel and attaching himself to it before it does. Snow Days' Wagwan Delilah follows the same logic, a track with Caribbean and UK influence, made by an artist who wasn't a household name, in a lane that hadn't fully broken through yet. Drake appeared on it. And again, the move wasn't reactive. It was early. And it's not limited to Toronto. Across genres, across cities, the pattern holds. Artists that most people hadn't heard of, in sounds that hadn't arrived yet, with Drake already inside them. By the time the mainstream caught up, it wasn't discovering something new. It was catching up to where Drake already was. That's the pattern, not adaptation. Early positioning, every single time. And the result is that his sound doesn't age in the conventional way because it's never fully anchored to one era. He's always partially inhabiting whatever's next. Here's where things move beyond the music industry and into something that's genuinely hard to categorize. And to show you what I mean, I want to walk you through the Iceman rollout specifically. Because if there's a single moment that makes the thesis of this video undeniable, this is it. Ahead of the Iceman release, Drake didn't put up posters. He didn't drop a trailer. He placed a large-scale ice sculpture on Bond Street in Toronto with the album's release date hidden inside it. Not printed on a banner, hidden inside the ice itself so that it could only be found as the sculpture melted. Toronto youth, and even adults, surrounded the ice sculpture and even climbed on top and chipped away at it with shovels, pickaxes, sledgehammers, and even flamethrowers. At the same time, there was a controlled explosion near Downsview Park in Toronto. A truck carrying pallets of ice moved through the city with Drake on it, filming a video. Visible from the condos above street level, residents watching and filming from their windows. That footage moving immediately onto social media without any coordination from his camp because it didn't need any. People did it because they were watching something they'd never seen before. The city wasn't a location, it was a stage. And the audience wasn't invited. They just happened to live there and couldn't look away. Now here's where it crosses from impressive to genuinely significant. Within days of that activation, brands that have absolutely nothing to do with Drake or with music started using the ice aesthetic in the acrostic format, from the campaign to market their own products. Popeyes built a full social post around the Iceman letter structure to sell their mini combo. DoorDash used the same format. The San Francisco 49ers ran it for the NFL draft. UFC adapted the visual language to promote a fight card. A bagel shop placed an oversized ice donut on the street in Toronto. A blanket company built a bed frame out of ice blocks and photographed it downtown. A dental practice did a version with aligners carved to look like ice. Let that sink in for a second. A fast food chain, a delivery app, a professional football team, a combat sports organization, local Toronto businesses, all of them unprompted, using the visual language of a Drake album rollout to sell their own completely unrelated products within the same news cycle. That's not brand awareness. That's not even influence. That is a rollout, so culturally saturating that it got absorbed into the general marketing economy before the album was even out. Brands don't copy stunts that don't work. They copy things that move the room. And it's not the first time he's operated this way. With Her Loss in 2022, Drake and 21 Savage plastered fake Vogue covers across London. Condé Nast filed a lawsuit. That lawsuit became the biggest press moment of the rollout. Every outlet covering the legal action also mentioned the album. Her Loss debuted at number 1. He manufactured a news cycle out of the controversy itself before anyone had heard a single second of music. 2 different rollouts, 2 different mechanics. Same result, the conversation about the music started before the music existed, and the infrastructure did the work that the music didn't have to. That's not marketing. That's a fundamentally different category of operation, and it's a template that artists and brand agencies have been studying and attempting to reverse engineer ever since, with mixed results. because the template only works at the scale Drake operates. This is the thing that the beef discourse completely obscured. When Kendrick won, the implicit assumption was that Drake's influence would contract. That's how it normally works. An artist loses cultural authority, their collaborators hedge, their audience drifts, their commercial leverage weakens. But that's the framework for an artist. And Drake stopped being just an artist a while ago. OVO Sound, his label, has developed and launched careers. Sound 42, his Sirius XM channel, functions as a radio platform with real curation power. His live event infrastructure through OVO Fest built a proven model for artist-owned festival brands. His fashion and lifestyle brand extended the OVO identity into retail. At each layer, Drake isn't just present, he's the infrastructure. Music industry analysts have noted this shift explicitly. Trade publications, including Billboard and The Ringer, have documented how Drake's commercial operation functions less like a traditional artist deal and more like a media company, one where the artist's personal brand serves as the distribution mechanism for an entire interconnected ecosystem of product, curation, and cultural positioning. That's not a description you'd apply to a musician. That's a description you'd apply to a platform. And when you're the infrastructure, individual cultural moments don't threaten you the same way they threaten an artist. Kendrick winning the Grammy doesn't restructure OVO Sound's roster. The Super Bowl performance doesn't change what Sound 42 plays. The lawsuit and its quiet withdrawal doesn't alter what the OVO brand means to its customer base in Toronto and internationally. The mechanism doesn't need to be winning to keep running. Sit with that for a second, because here's the question that doesn't get asked loudly enough. If one person can absorb that much public damage, lose the biggest beef in a generation, watch a rival perform a song about them at the Super Bowl, file a lawsuit, and quietly drop it, and still operate with this level of structural insulation, what does that mean for everyone else? It becomes a question about the conditions that made it possible, and about what it means for everyone operating in the same space who hasn't built those systems. Because they can't. The resources required to operate at the scale Drake operates, the label infrastructure, the radio platform, the brand architecture, the city-level marketing activations, aren't available to artists who don't already have enormous commercial leverage. The model isn't replicable, it's just dominant. And when a model is dominant and non-replicable, the artists around it aren't competing with an artist, they're competing with a system. That's a fundamentally different game. It was never really about whether Drake won or lost the beef. It was about what it means for music when one person can lose that publicly, absorb that much cultural damage, and still be structurally positioned to keep going. Not because of talent, but because of architecture. The problem isn't Drake. It's what the industry becomes when that architecture is the model. And look, none of this is an argument that Drake's career is over or that Kendrick didn't win. All of those things can be true at the same time. What this is an argument for paying attention to the right thing. The beef was the most visible story, but the more important story is what's sitting underneath it. The way one artist built these systems so structurally embedded that the culture's verdict didn't fully reach it. That's the thing worth understanding, because it doesn't just explain Drake, it explains where music is going and who gets to shape it. If this gave you something to think about, drop it in the comments. I want to know where you land on this. And if you want to go deeper on how artists build systems like this, subscribe, because that's the conversation we're having on this channel. Check you in the next one.